My strict parents expelled me when I became pregnant at 17. When I visited my daughter 25 years later, her abusive ex was back my worst nightmare. After placing my daughter for adoption, I 42F reconnected with her 24F, but her fiancé, 26M, is problematic. I must recount my emotional roller coaster. Republican Midwest town where I grew up. My parents were churchgoers since my mother managed the women's ministry and my father was a deacon. Not always the perfect family, despite appearances. Parents were nosy and controlling, observing everything. Makeup, dating, and mainstream music were banned. My entire life was planned. I would marry a good church boy, attend the local Christian college, and stay home. I had hopes. I wanted to pursue art in college because I liked it. I covertly sought for art school scholarships to escape my harsh home. When they learned, my parents raged. My acceptance letters burnt, and I was grounded indefinitely. I sneaked to a school party with friends. I met 18-year-old Harold there. Lovely elder man, he understood me uniquely. First time dating covertly. I felt loved and acknowledged. Harold invited me to a campfire party in the woods without my consent 3 months into our relationship. Although I had never tried alcohol, it was there. Harold and I had our first drunken sex. Being my first time, I was too innocent to demand protection. Few weeks later, I stopped menstruating. I bought a pregnancy test without telling my parents despite my worries. My world collapsed when results were favorable. I hoped for his support, but he panicked. He blocked my number, saying I tried to trap him and the baby wasn't his. Suddenly he vanished. At 17, I was afraid, pregnant, and alone. It took bravery to tell my parents because I couldn't keep it a secret forever. Their reaction exceeded my expectations. Dad labeled me a whore and thought I disgraced the family. Mama cried about church opinion. They wanted my abortion. Their religious convictions aside, they did it to save face. They became nasty when I declined. Someone pulled me out of school and told everyone I was homeschooling. They secretly kept me in the house. They continually chastised me for damaging our lives. My mother gave me purifying pills that made me sick. Father made me kneel and pray for hours, quoting bodily sin scriptures. I was depressed during pregnancy. I was despondent and alone. After that, changes occurred. I felt cherished and protective as the baby moved. I wanted a decent life for this baby, but this poisoned environment was unsuitable. I secretly explored adoption agencies on our basement's outdated desktop while my parents slept. I discovered open adoption this way. I felt alive knowing I could love and connect with my child. I contacted an adoption agency without telling my parents. Through them, I met adoption hopefuls Sarah and Michael. Their friendliness became apparent after we started emailing. They wanted a caring home for a child, not to judge me. During birth, my parents reluctantly transported me to the hospital. Neither wanted. They worried more about scandal if the home birth went wrong. Michael and Sarah supported me over the 18-hour shift. My newborn daughter and I spent a few precious minutes together before handing her to her adoptive parents. Even though it was toughest, I believed in my choice. Living with my parents after adoption was too much. I packed and departed the day I was discharged. I had old babysitting money. It paid for a transport to the nearest big city. Living alone was difficult at first. I got my studio apartment by working multiple low-wage jobs. After my I took night community college classes. I continued going despite weariness to improve my life. I got a scholarship to finish college at a public university for doing well in school. Marketing could use my artistic skills, so I majored on it. A small advertising agency hired me as an entry-level job after graduating. I advanced professionally. Despite failures, I persevered. I'm 42 and a big company's senior marketing executive. Life is comfortable, yet I've never felt more alone. After my teenage experiences, I had trouble trusting anyone, especially boys. Both of my brief romances ended. I always considered my abandoned daughter. We promised Sarah and Michael would send me annual updates and photos. I loved watching my little girl grow up from afar. I gave the adoption agency a note for her 18th birthday, if she wants. It clarified her adoption and allowed her to contact them anytime. Nobody contacted her on 18th birthday. I tried not to take it personally because she may be scared to connect or need time. Still hurt. Nearly 2 years ago, an email transformed my life, even though her adoptive parents delivered her my letter when she turned 18. Eleanor, 24F, my daughter, said she didn't feel comfortable reaching out until now. She offered to meet if I was interested. I was afraid and excited. Maybe she didn't like me. Suppose we had no similar interests. I met her for coffee despite my fears. I was worried, but the first encounter went well. Smart, she was. Sympathetic to her adoption. We started meeting every 2 weeks to become acquainted. Our relationship grew over time. Even better, I met pleasant Michael and Sarah. Eleanor was carefully raised and taught about her adoption. Eleanor, an elementary school teacher, may have been inspired to paint by me. Her creativity and talent astonished me. Reuniting with her revealed my life's void. I felt family for the first. I learned 6 months ago that Eleanor was dating Derek, 26M, through shared contacts. I was thrilled for her, but Derek immediately bothered me. In our relationship, he pursued Eleanor, acting possessive and controlling. My first attempt was forgiveness. Being absent for most of Eleanor's life made me overprotective. Derek's behavior worsened with time. He regularly persuaded Eleanor that teaching was a waste of her talent and that she might earn more. He ridiculed her artwork and discouraged her career. Derek always crept into Eleanor and my plans. Eleanor's recommendation that she return to school for her master's worried her most. Derek instantly rejected the idea, saying Eleanor didn't need more schooling and it was too expensive. In my mind, he advised her to prioritize marriage and children. I thought informing Eleanor about my worries would damage our new relationship. I didn't want her to think I was controlling her life after being gone so long. Eleanor joyfully revealed Derek and her engagement a month earlier. Only 4 months have gone since they started dating. Though terrified, I attempted to be glad for her. Eleanor requested lunch a week after the engagement. She appeared anxious and agitated. After we were seated, she said Derek encouraged her to leave teaching after they married. He pictured her as a mom and housewife. Derek thought it was best, but Eleanor loved teaching and wouldn't leave. I couldn't be silent. I whispered about Derek's power and the relationship's quick expansion. Eleanor's spouse should help her goals. After calming down, Eleanor cried. Though she questioned the engagement, she felt stuck. Derek cut her off from many friends as negative role models. He tracked her phone and social media. She worried his reaction if she fled. Eleanor was not alone as I hugged her. I offered her a home, money, or listening ear. She appeared relieved to confess the truth. 3 hours were spent planning Eleanor's safe escape from Derek. Sarah and Michael hosted her till she found a new flat. While Derek worked, I helped her pack and took her to her parents' house. Though tough and unpleasant, Eleanor's strength in ending that awful relationship makes me proud. The encounter strengthened our friendship. I appreciate helping her when needed. Eleanor's recovery and life rebuilding continue. I will support her though. I'll make up for lost time and be her mother after so long. I wanted to inform you that Eleanor left Derek 2 months ago. First weeks were hard. Derek loathed splitting. He texted and called Eleanor frequently, pleading for her return and threatening violence. His number and social media profiles needed blocking. Derek also confronted Eleanor in the school parking lot. The principal was gracious enough to send a security officer to take Eleanor to and from the car. We obtained a restraining order due to Derek's erratic behavior. Staying with Sarah and Michael helps Eleanor. Their support throughout was invaluable. To manage the relationship's emotional suffering, she sees a psychotherapist. I can see her confidence and relaxation growing. Painting enthusiasm returns unexpectedly for Eleanor. She enjoys drawing without Derek's critique. She considers selling or commissioning paintings. We've been discussing and helping Eleanor find an apartment. Everything has increased our friendship. Though she's never confided in me, she told me her worries. Her faith in me to be vulnerable makes me feel cherished. 1 month ago, something awful happened. Derek appeared inebriated while Eleanor and I ate dinner at a restaurant. He shouted and acted out when I took Eleanor. Derek was detained for restraining order violation after restaurant staff phoned police. It rattled Eleanor. Her strength was immense. Eleanor rejoined some friends she lost during her relationship with Derek, which is good. He blamed her friends of jealousy or injury from their relationship to isolate her. Eleanor's pals are encouraging, and she's fun to see laugh. Eleanor also taught with fresh vigor. Her principal has suggested she become a lead teacher and given her more responsibility. Derek was wrong to try to get her to resign. Her eyes light up while talking about her students. The whole incident showed me how much I've blocked deep friendships. Helping Eleanor through this difficult time and re-establishing our relationship has opened my heart in ways I never imagined. I've only started dating. Casually. Thinking about friendship feels fantastic. I've been thinking about how my past shaped me. I realized I ignored my teenage trauma for work. Eleanor's treatment success motivated me. Seeing my therapist has been useful yet difficult. In therapy, my parents' relationship was discussed. Not since I was 17 have I spoken to them. I often wondered if they regretted my treatment, but I was too scared to ask. Our therapist had me write them a letter. Despite not expecting a response, I felt compelled to express my healing wishes. A few weeks later, my mother wrote back, surprising me. Their treatment of me was greatly regretted for years, she claimed. She said they attempted to find me many times without success. She recommended talking. My opinion is ambiguous. I'm hurt and angry, yet my other side wants to mend. Eleanor and my therapist are considering seeing them, but I'm not ready. Eleanor has been my rock throughout. She's been patient and supportive while I solve my problems. After switching roles, she advises and comforts me. We have a good relationship balance. Eleanor stays with Sarah and Michael while apartment shopping. A painting studio is on her wish list. Despite my financial aid, she's determined to do it. Alone, her tenacity and individuality inspire me. Though the last few months have been rough, I have optimism. She recovers and rediscovers herself, strengthening our mother-daughter relationship daily. I appreciate helping and spending time with her. Update 2. Many things have happened since my last update 6 months ago. Unfortunately, unexpected complications arose. Eleanor is performing well. She settled into a lovely apartment and is adjusting to independence. Her Etsy site selling painting prints has done better than expected. She pondered becoming a full-time artist if things went well. School promoted Eleanor to lead teacher. Her students like her, and her new job is good. Watching her confidence improve and pursue her passions has been rewarding. Relationship strengthens. Our routine includes weekly dinners and daily calls or texts. I love when Eleanor calls me mom. I appreciate this second chance to mother her. Now for the bad news. Derek returned 2 months ago. He may have had alcoholism treatment. He called Eleanor to apologize and say he was sober and in rehab. Eleanor was wary and conflicted. A part of her wished Derek had changed. She met him in public against my advice to listen. Derek seemed genuine, which surprised me. He accepted full responsibility for his aggression without explanation. Even though Eleanor would never want to see him again, he hoped they could become friends. Experience left Eleanor puzzled. She believed Derek had changed, but she doubted she could trust him again. Her asking for my opinion was difficult. Eleanor's forgiveness and faith in change made me proud. Derek might return and hurt her again, I fretted, trying to be objective. Eleanor was not indebted to Derek, even though he helped her. She should tentatively restart a friendship with clear boundaries. A moment of calm passed. Most Derek and Eleanor texts were nice. Derek demanded more immediately. He wanted to have coffee with Eleanor's pals in her new flat. Eleanor tried to limit herself but was exhausted. She rationalized Derek's violence by saying he was happy to reconnect. I gently reminded her of the past, knowing she wouldn't want to hear it. That boiled over last week. Eleanor cried after telling me she and Derek fought. He abruptly visited her flat and was agitated when she refused to let him in. He screamed profanities and accused her of seduction. Eleanor considered it a wake-up. Derek claimed to have changed, but she saw him controlling her. While renewing the restraining order, she disabled his phone again. Though upset, Eleanor may be pleased she broke up with Derek. She stays at my house since she hates being alone at her apartment. I welcome her and will assist her. I have better family situations. After talking with my therapist, I met with my parents. A neutral cafe in a nearby town hosted our gathering. The meeting was emotional and challenging. My parents really regretted their childhood abuse. They said they reflected on my leaving and left their church after understanding how damaging and repressive it was. Long history of therapy. Addressing their difficulties and diagnosing my I appreciate their apologies and self-improvement, but I won't accept them back. Many wounds and mistrust remain. Our pace is gradual, meeting every 2 months and calling sometimes. Telling them about Eleanor was bittersweet. They were excited to welcome a grandson but devastated by what they had lost. Eleanor shouldn't meet them yet. I left the door open for future if everyone is okay. Eleanor and I learned to trust our intuition and set limits from this encounter. I believe we'll recover from these difficult weeks. Let's work together and assist each other. Update 3: Eleanor and I have a better rhythm after almost a year. Eleanor started over after Derek visited her house. A city 2 hours distant hired her to teach painting. She thought this big step was needed to end her toxic connection with Derek. I supported her decision but was sad to see her go. We talk practically daily and meet twice a month. Eleanor thrives in her new environment. She enjoys teaching art and gets along with pupils. Her first gallery show and sales boosted her career. One of my favorite moments was her proud gallery tour. My changes are many. Eleanor's life-changing bravery inspired me. I retired early to pursue long-held aspirations after feeling stuck in marketing. A local women's shelter is my volunteer spot, helping women escape abusive relationships. After aiding Eleanor with Derek, I knew I could help. My work is rewarding. Though I started art classes for Eleanor, I enjoy them. Although I'm not as adept as her, I relax. Eleanor enjoys criticizing my early attempts. Bettering my relationship with my parents. Numerous meetings and calls have transpired. We've found forgiveness and understanding, even though our relationship will never be the same without our horrible past. Their Eleanor exchanges were better than imagined. Eleanor came last weekend, and we had fun. After supper, we visited an art museum and laughed till dawn. There was quiet and weeping. She thanked me for helping her through Derek's suffering and our reunion. What happened to her birth mother, and why I abandoned her for years. After seeing how tough things were, she acknowledged that I had made the difficult decision to provide her a better life than I could. She said being my daughter made her proud. I cried then. Her comments soothed me beyond words after years of grief and regret. Our hug was long, smiling and crying. Eleanor shocked me by saying she might return to this area to teach since she was leaving for her city. She desired closer proximity and more time with me. I appreciate her concern, but I don't know what will happen. After analyzing the past few years, reuniting with Eleanor, supporting her through Derek's situation, and bonding, I feel appreciation and satisfaction I never expected. A difficult journey. We became loving and understanding. I believe we'll handle whatever comes next.